Well, I think the crypto sphere in general, we're in this race to get rich before they can like, before the gains are gone, before they tax it, before I just think, in 2020, 2030, like what's, Hex, we're still going to be making gains and interest and stuff, but it's not going to be like it is in 2020, 2021, 2022. So I think, yeah, before it's like the meme though. I wish I had my institutional is coming meme where they're holding crypto back, and J.P. Morgan and Square is like reaching into the soul and pulling them out. The institutional is coming deal. That's like a decade long running meme that is real. So if you're getting in crypto in 5 years from now, oh, I can get rich later or whatever. Hey, it's almost like the catchphrase limited time offer, the whole marketing technique, but that stuff is true. In crypto, it's a real deal. So you may be making a better than a CD later on, but you're not going to be making a 40% APY, I don't think, in 10 years.
That's a great point, man. I was just thinking about that when this asshole was arguing with Richard, actually. I was just thinking about that. It's such a weak argument because it's like Bitcoin's at the top of its S curve. And yes, the majority of its price potential to appreciate is gone. Yes, it's still going to be more volatile than the stock market. Yes, you might get a 4x or a 5x pump in Bitcoin on the next bull market. You probably will. And a 5x pump could be life-changing if you're starting out with $50,000, $100,000. A lot of people don't have that. A lot of people are funneling away and chucking, $500 a paycheck, dollar cost averaging into crypto, and they need something at the bottom of its S curve. That's PulseChain. That's Hex. People don't think it's Hex. Hex is literally only 3 years old. You guys know what price Bitcoin was after 3 years? It was about $12, I think. Once you kill for the chance to buy Bitcoin at $12, just because you didn't get it at 1 penny, you're going to give up and say, oh, I'm too late. But this whole S curve thing is interesting because everybody likes to play this game of the utility argument, right? And the utility argument is so weak because cryptocurrencies have value from two aspects, right? They've got the speculation component and then they've got the utility component. There's always both. But people don't realize that having censorship resistance, having trustless yield, these are utilities. And Bitcoin has one of those utilities as well. It doesn't have trustless yield, but it has censorship resistant, and that's still a utility. It's not quite peer-to-peer cash, but you still can send value borderless peer-to-peer across the world to anybody. That's still a pretty good damn utility, if you ask me. But it's also got the speculation component of its value. And as the S curve goes up to the top, the speculation component of the value of a coin gets lower, whereas the utility value as a percentage of the total value gets higher. So as more and more people find out about the utility and they say, oh shit, this thing's actually useful. Well, by that time, a lot of the volatility is gone because a lot of the adoption has already happened and you missed all that speculation value. And the speculation value is where the life-changing gains come in because the people that took the risk to see the asymmetric information early on, they got all the money. Cool thing about Hex is that even when it does reach the top of its S curve of utility, of S curve of adoption, rather, there's still much more of a use case for it because you will always be able to earn trustless yield. Yeah, the yield might not be as high. We might not be averaging 38% APY like we are right now, but let's say we're averaging 15, 17% in, like, I don't know, 8 years, 10 years. It's going to come down as more people stake. Obviously, we know the APY is going to go down, but 17, 18% APY for an average length, stake, that still kicks anything's ass in the traditional financial system. Still beats the fuck out of inflation. Like, that's still a pretty goddamn good utility, if you ask me. Trustless yield cannot be overlooked. It's still peer-to-peer. It's going to be on a lightning fast blockchain, a dirt cheap blockchain. Hey, it might even be a decent digital peer-to-peer cash. If the fees are cheap enough, Hex might even one day behave as a cash. That would be a further utility. But even if those weren't a thing, even if you didn't have the cash aspect, even if you didn't have the trustless yield aspect, which Hex does, you would always have the immutability, the borderless censorship resistance, decentralized nature of cryptocurrency in general, right? And so that will always be a selling point. Rant is over.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking you were talking about the kind of speculating on the APY in the next decade or so, and I think, man, if it's 2030, we're in the top 5, solid top 5. Richard Baltcoin market cap kicked out CZ, he's king now. Took over Binance, took over the world. I don't know, man. I don't know if it'll be 17. I'm thinking like 7.5 or something like that. Because Hex will be doing so well because it's so many people in it. It's a good thing. Like Dip Catchers talked about, which is, I guess, controversial apparently, that we want higher fees on PulseChain because that means it's successful. That means it's worth money. So we want that eventually. Like it's counterintuitive, but you want that. It shows success. And I think the same thing with Hex. It'll be eventually try to start eating itself a little bit. But at that point, oh my gosh, like the heck. Yeah. Can you see like a derivative like Hex Cash or something like that? Like, oh, Hex Cash, lightning fast payments. Like that'd be awesome.
Well, here's
like,
what I think is going to happen. I mean, I would love for PulseChain to become a victim of its own success, just like Ethereum currently is. But I think by that time, and shout out to your PulseChain necklace, by the way, that's freaking dope. I love that. I've got a Hex version of that, but I might have to get me a PulseChain one. But yeah, let's say PulseChain does become a victim of its own success, right? That's a 10-year from now. Maybe that's like, let's say that's a 5-year from now problem. A lot can happen in terms of innovation in 5 years. I mean, we can have layer 2 solutions, which we already kind of do. I mean, things like ZK.money, they take things off chain to layer 2 and they resolve back on layer 1, but they allow for way higher TPS, way higher throughput, and sometimes even more anonymity, which are two great features. So we can work on these scaling solutions. Meanwhile, the horizontal scaling that PulseChain allows us is a temporary fix for a problem that I hope to have 5 years from now. I hope we have crazy high fees. And then I also hope that people continue working on things like optimistic rollups and ZK Sync and all these cool things, which are nowhere near mass adoption ready yet, but they will be one day. I hope. So I want to live in a world where, Hex is $10. Fees on PulseChain are crazy high, but there's still incentive to buy Hex because there's still so much meat on the bone left because the trustless yield is still paying out, 20%, 30% APY. That'd be amazing. And then, hey, we also have much more utility. We have privacy, we have payments, and layer 2 is what allows us to do those two things in particular. So that's the world I'd like to live in. And I think that's maybe where we're heading. I'm obviously an optimist, but that's what I'd like to see